Thank you. Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, Your Excellency Madam Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, Chairperson of the BCIS, members of the BCIS Council of Management and Academic Affairs Board, Director General of SWRD Bandaranaike National Memorial Foundation, Executive Director of the BCIS Ms. Priyanka Fernando, Your Excellencies and members of the Diplomatic Corps, the faculty members of BCIS International Relations Program, most importantly students, families and friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is such an honor for me to be speaking at this event by this invaluable and prestigious Bandaranaike Center for International Studies, an institution that was set up by a formidable woman and continues to shape the lives and brains and minds of so many of my neighbors. As our world grapples with old challenges and faces new ones, with new wars and ongoing crises, as we face the relentless onslaught of climate change and as AI changes everything from education to crime, as priorities shift for our donors and funding is diminished for our countries, there is one issue that exacerbates all the other issues and all the other challenges for our countries, and that is we are poor, and we're becoming poorer and poorer. As our governments are forced to take one loan after another, to pay one creditor after another, our people and our governments and our countries are becoming poorer and poorer. And that is the one issue I want to speak about here today. An issue, a challenge with great international roots and local ramifications. That is the issue of public debt. Speaking in Sri Lanka as a Maldivian, I am one thing. I'm a woman of the Global South. I'm a citizen of the Global South, and I come ingrained with much of the common knowledge and all of the historical experiences that come with being one. And I share that historical experience and historical knowledge with all of you in this room. And all of us understand that the issue of public debt, national debt, is inescapable for all of us. In the Maldives, we watched Sri Lanka's descent into financial crisis with genuine grief for our neighbors, and with an understanding of the poor governance choices that led your country there, but also with an understanding that that is exactly where the Maldives is headed. Sri Lankans, I'm sure, understood why your government had to engage in a debt restructuring program, but few understood and even fewer accepted the impact the resulting austerity measures left on their individual lives. As we do this, all of us in the poorer countries, all of us in the debtor nations, we know that the traditional methods of dealing with debt has not served our countries, it has not served our people well. So we know we need other ways. We need ways that are centered around individual lives, that are centered around the lives of Maldivians in our islands and centered around the Sri Lankans in your villages, in your towns and in your cities, that are centered around your neighbors and your communities, your fisherfolk, your women, your children, your elderly, your youth, your marginalized and your vulnerable people. We need ways of dealing with debt. We need policies and strategies and ways that are centered around our people's right to a dignified life. As we do this, Maldives and Sri Lanka, good governance is key. Good governance is everything. Without good governance, however much money is pumped into our countries, whether by the IMF or bilateral, however much money is pumped into our countries, without good governance, it is nothing. building back, whether from a war, from tsunami, or a pandemic, or from a financial crisis. Without good governance, however much money is pumped into our countries is just wasted, and we will never recover from the vicious cycle of one debt restructuring program after another. I'm surrounded by students of international relations today. As a student of IR myself, there is no one I'd rather be speaking about this with, but more as a lifelong activist against corruption and as a lifelong advocate for good governance. Students, here's what I would like to say to you. Lean in, invest in your country, invest in governance, invest in politics. It does not matter what role you take, it does not matter whether you do it as a politician, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, civil society, journalist, NGO, think tank, as a student. Invest, lean in, invest in governance and invest in politics and determine the future of your beautiful nation. You do not need me to tell you that apathy breeds authoritarianism, and that disengagement is fertile ground for corruption. If and when you feel frustrated, do not withdraw into passivity. That is when all governments become lazy and careless about you. Fighting corruption, fighting for good governance, fighting for the rights and freedoms of somebody else, fighting for the rights of your neighbor and of your communities will always be worth it. It will always be worthwhile. Across this region, we watch Sri Lanka come back time and time again. We watched you come back from a long and devastating war. We watch you still try and make those wrongs right. We watch your civil society and your journalists and your businesses and your students and your people not give up. We watched you come back from the tragic Easter bomb attack, and now we're watching you fight back from the financial crisis. We watched your struggle, and we watched you turn that struggle into a vote, and we watched you turn that vote into a government. We watch you not give up on your democratic institutions. We watch you vote time and time again with hope, hoping for a clean and good and efficient government. Everyone talks about the burden of hope. Everyone is talking about the burden of hope placed on this new government. But I too, as your neighbor, I am placing my hope in your new government. You have a clean, good, efficient government to lead your way. Invest in that governance, invest in politics. Across this region, we're watching you with hope and we're rooting for you. Sri Lanka, Sri Lankans, students, with your tenacity for getting back on your feet, you inspire the global south. You inspire the region, and Sri Lanka, you will always inspire me. Thank you for the opportunity.